Am I wrong for divorcing my wife because she couldn't handle me crying in front of her? So she doesn't have empathy, is what you're saying? I, 28 male, and my wife, 29 female, were recently visiting Cambodia. I booked a trip for our 4th wedding anniversary. On our last day there, we decided to visit a genocide prison called S21. We were warned by our tour guide that the place wasn't for the faint of heart. The prison was used to massacre thousands of innocent civilians who were deemed too smart or intellectual during the rule of Pol Pot. I remember seeing torture chambers where they would beat people to death with chains. They didn't hide away any of the brutality. The pictures on the walls literally looked like something straight out of Live Leak. In one of the prison cells there was literally dried up blood on the floor from presumably the captive held there all those years ago. I remember walking past a tree dubbed the Killing Tree. They took kids as young as 3 years old and would bash their heads into it until they died. Upon reading that, I literally just started sobbing. I was visualizing everything in my head, and I just felt for the kids who had to watch their siblings and friends get massacred in front of them. My wife saw me crying and instead of comforting me, just gave me this weird look. After a while, she did come hug me and ask me if something was wrong. I just pointed to the exit and we left after that. I just couldn't take it anymore. While in our taxi, she asked me if I was seriously crying. I just nodded and kept quiet. I was still pretty shaken up by the things I just read and saw. That was last week, and there has been this weird tension between us ever since. She tries to pick fights with me and just seems dismissive and disrespectful for no reason. A few days ago, I came home exhausted from work and she asked me if I could do the laundry that day. I told her I'd do it tomorrow and just wanted to relax for a bit. She then got mad and told me that she didn't know she was marrying a woman and then stormed off. She has never acted like this before our trip. I lost it yesterday night after she tried to pick another fight with me and confronted her about her behavior over the past week. I asked her if all of this had to do with me crying. She tried denying it at first, but after a while, she just went silent for a few moments and then started nodding while keeping her head down. I asked why, and she just claimed that humanity has done worse in the past, and she just feels weird about me crying over kids who have nothing to do with me. She also told me that she isn't a therapist and she felt uncomfortable and was disappointed in me for shedding tears over something that happens all the time. Oh, gosh. So you're saying some people have zero empathy for the mass murder of innocent children around the world because it happens all the time? She saw me getting mad at her comments and tried backpedaling and apologizing, but I just couldn't take it anymore and just went to bed in our guest room. This was literally the second time she has ever seen me cry. First was when my best friend lost his life to a drunk driver. To all the men out there, have you experienced anything similar with your significant other? I'm just sort of lost for words. I can't make sense of anything right now. I don't know who I can confide in with this, so that's why I'm posting here. I just need a place to vent. Your spouse should be the one person that you can confide in with everything in your life. And to all of the men out there who are listening to this, please do not take this story as evidence that women will reject you for showing emotions. His wife's response was unacceptable for any human being, man or woman. Am I wrong for telling my mom she is dead to me if she mentors my bully? So my 16 male, mom 40 female is a teacher at my school. Our teacher has a special elective you can take, which is being a teacher's aide during your elective period. It's mostly stuff like grading papers for them, making copies, mentoring, etc. It's pretty much always just the teacher's favorite student at the time. I found out at the beginning of the semester that my mom chose Dave, 17 male, to be her TA. Dave has made my life a living nightmare since middle school. He has bullied me mercilessly, both physically and emotionally since 6th grade. I don't want to get into everything he's done to me, but everyone is fully aware of it, including the school and my parents. There have been countless meetings with school administration and suspension on his end, but it never stopped him. Since we've been in high school and I hadn't seen him that much, which is a relief, but the times that I do are always terrible. When I found out that he was her new TA, I was obviously very hurt and confused. I asked her why would she want to spend extra time with someone who made my life so terrible. She said that she had him in one of her classes and that he really isn't such a bad kid, but he has a really terrible home life that she can't tell me about that makes him act out. For the record, my mom has always had a soft spot for the kid who comes from bad homes. I reminded her of all the things he had done to me, and she said that she understands, but he really needs help right now. I told her, I get that, but why does it have to be you? We have a huge school full of teachers and staff who can mentor him. Why does it have to be you? She told me to stop being selfish, and some kids have it harder than I could imagine, and she's just trying to help. I was honest with her and told her that if she continued to have him as her aide, she was dead to me. She was choosing him over me, and she would no longer be my mother. I would no longer talk to her the minute I turned 18. I was moving out and she would never hear from me again. She rolled her eyes and said I was being dramatic, but after a couple of days of ignoring her, I was grounded. It didn't change my mind, and my dad then tried to force me to talk to her. I still refused, so they pretty much took everything away from me one by one for the past few weeks. I no longer have my car, computer, guitar, and most recently my art supplies, and I have to come home from school and go straight to my room, and I'm not allowed out except for dinner unless I start talking to her again. They don't realize that this is just strengthening my resolve. I'm going to sit in this empty room every day silently until I'm 18 and they'll never see me again. My mom keeps coming in crying and begging me to talk to her, which makes me feel kind of bad, but she still won't remove Dave as her aide. Am I taking this too far? I just feel so betrayed. I would say you're not the asshole, and let me explain why. People are going to disagree with me. I get that. But your family is your safe space, right? The two people who are supposed to protect you in this world is your mom and dad. And if this man being her aide bothers you, your mom has to put you first and not this other kid. That's not her child. You're right in the sense where there's other teachers. I get he has a hard home life. I get that. But you are your mom's first priority. And she is pushing you kind of to the back burner. And for her to take it this far, she sees how much hurt you're going through by not talking to her, and it's not clicking for her. And to top it all off, what has caused this disconnect? The same bully from 6th grade. And that would piss me off even more. I'm like, look, you're letting this person still ruin my life. And you're not getting it. The bullying is still happening. Whether the mom sees it or not, it's still happening. You don't think that kid is getting some sort of like, I'm still bothering this kid. I know he hates that I'm his mom's aide. You don't think he probably sucks up to you? Like, come on, like, know better. Like, you gotta be on your kid's side. You're their number one.
Story time about how my mom found out my dad had a whole other family, and then he abandoned her with 5 kids. Yes, this is my mama's story time. I'm gonna try not to cry. My mama and specimen donor met when they were super young. They got married when she was 21 and she got pregnant at 22. And then they had 4 more children. My brother and I are twins and we're the babies of the family. Now, when my brother and I were a year old, my mom started noticing some wacky stuff. Specimen donor was out all hours of the night because he had business here and there. And by the way, my mom is raising 5 children, including 2 newborn twins. Thankfully, she had the help of my sister. At the time, she was already 15, so there's a huge age gap between her and I. Oh my god, I'm already losing it. Shout out to my amazing sister because she helped raise me and my siblings. In fact, when I wanted to go out to a party or something, my mom would tell me to go ask my sister for permission because she always said no to everything. So one day my mom confronts specimen donor. This is when he confesses that he had gotten someone else pregnant. Not only was she pregnant, she'd already had another kid of his, and that he was gonna go live with his new family. My mama kicked him right out. She enrolled herself in night school and became a lawyer. She took over my grandpa's dying law office, and she is now one of the most recognized lawyers in all of Central America. My husband thinks I'm ugly and made fun of me with his friends. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. When I met my husband, I knew he was out of my league. He was a total player. He was dating a bunch of girls. The girls he dated were really, really hot. But then he asked me out. We had been friends up until that point. I asked him why he wanted to go out with me, and that's when he said that I was the only woman who ever made him laugh. We had really long conversations and we understood each other really well. And his mother loved me to bits. So we started dating. Fast forward a couple of years, we're married. And now we've been married for 1 year exactly. Now, I don't look like the hunchback or anything, but I'm kind of skinny fat. I don't color my grays or do anything to my hair, and I rarely wear makeup. I'm also pretty plain about how I dress. Now, I never thought any of this bothered my husband up until last week. I get off from work early. I decide to go get us some pizza. I'm going to surprise him. But when I get home, he's with his friends. So I decide to listen in on their conversation. There were about 4 of his friends there. 2 were women, 2 were male. One of the girls pipes up and says, "So how are you feeling about your wife?" My husband replies, "Well, you guys know I'm not in love with her, but I love her." And that's when another guy says, "But she kind of ugly though." They all laugh. Then another girl says, "But how does she look naked?" He says, "As you would imagine." And then they laugh some more. This hurt my feelings so much, so I decided I need to make him fall in love with me. I signed up to a gym and I'm going to start coloring my hair and learn how to do makeup. I got Self Care Sister for that, but I need more suggestions from you guys. Where do I buy clothes? If you're thinking I should leave him, no way. I love him. I just need a glow up, you know? What do you guys think?
Story time about how I found out that my coworker was cheating on her husband with my boyfriend. So a little background information. From 2022 to 2023, I worked as a receptionist at this hotel, and I was pretty good friends with one of my coworkers who was kind of older than me. I was 19, and at the time she was about 28 years old, and we're gonna call her Jamie. Jamie seemed like a very professional woman. Like, she would hardly get into drama, and everybody loved her at work. And we were all super thankful to have her because she was also a really good worker. Now, Jamie was married and she had a son who was about 3 years old. And she would always brag about how her husband treated her so well, which was weird because, girl, if he treated you well, why did you cheat on him? Be so for real. Anyway, so there was this guy who was working in the dining room area and he was extremely fine. Like when I tell you every girl wanted to get with him, every girl wanted to get with him. But somehow him and I clicked almost instantly. Fast forward a month, him and I start talking to each other. He even introduced me to his family, like for part 2.